All right, let's head into Liberia now. George Weah is the president-elect of that country.
Indeed.
Yeah.
The former professional footballer won the presidential runoff with 61.5% of the vote from 98.1% of ballots cast. Weah will succeed Ellen Johnson Sirleaf to become president next month.
And expectedly, jubilation broke out among his supporters. And that is the example of how he went across the country. Across the country, George Weah, George Weah, George Weah, everywhere.
Yes, indeed.
All right. We have senior researcher, TVC News, with us right now, Cyril Abaku. Cyril, it's good to see you, and welcome back from your vacation. It's really good to have you back.
Yes, my pleasure.
And compliments of the season.
Yeah. Thank you, Stu.
All right. Now, I know you've been following developments in Liberia. First of all, let me say, was it surprising to have George Weah win the election?
No, it wasn't. I think that once the runoff was set, going head to head between George Weah and Joseph Boakai, it was pretty much clear. And I think that the system wanted George Weah in power. Fundamentally, we recall that when Ellen Johnson Sirleaf went to the United Nations General Assembly, she particularly said that it was time for younger Liberians to lead the country into the future. Joseph Boakai, though being a vice president, is about 73 years old, and George Weah is 51. So it was clear where she was going. Again, you look at the fact that the field that George Weah had to beat, like the likes of Charles Bromskin and most of the other contenders to the election, Prince Johnson and so on, all had one thing or the other to do with the Civil War. All these people came together, including Charles Taylor himself, Charles Taylor's ex-wife. All those people came together. So I think it was a groundswell of support that came behind Weah. The fact that he scored about 38 point something in the
first election,
in the first round, and Boakai got 29 point something. Now you see that with 98% of the vote counted, George Weah already has 61.5, which is quite an unassailable lead. So I think it's a good thing. You know, for me, I think that to hear that Africa's, and again, this is a great victory for Africa, for Liberia and for Africa, to hear that Africa's oldest democratic republic has not had a chance at smooth succession of power for 1944. For more than 70 years, is a bit of an embarrassment. But I think that, as the ancient Greeks used to say, perseverance conquers all. Somehow they've persevered, they've gone through the wars and everything, and they have been able to chart a clean path out of that era. 12 years for Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. It was a groundbreaking election because, of course, for the first time they got a woman to steer them out of the out of the war era. And so going forward, I think it is important that, you know, for Liberians, I think the biggest blessing or the biggest gain is the issue of peace. And now that they've been able to, I mean, the jubilation itself could have been more. The international community had to prevail on George Weah and his supporters and said, see, we know you already have this in the kitty, but step down the celebration. Let's just hold on. Because as at yesterday, Boakai was granted an interview to the international media and said that he was still hopeful that he was going to win. It was obvious that he wasn't going to get
Though
anywhere.
he said he was going to accept the outcome
Exactly.
of the
No, but he also said he was hopeful that until every vote had been counted, he was hopeful.
Of course.
So, I mean, but again, it's a big victory for everyone. Like George Weah, from his footballing days, you know, had always been a symbol of unity, at least for the downtrodden. He himself, having not had the benefit of growing under his parents, but growing under his grandmother in the slums, he understands the language of suffering. So all the issues of free education, the freebies was given to the people. I think that having now becoming president, now becoming president, he should be able to turn those into concrete policies.
Indeed, because Liberia is suffering from acute poverty, and that's the reality. And of course, many would say that he already has his work cut out for him, and he's not stepping on foreign ground, really, because he's had his hands dirty, doing a lot of things for the people of that country. So it's not going to be strange to him, many would say. But then, would you say that there is need for him to put in an economic team, because there is the call for boosting the economy of Liberia. Of course, infrastructural facilities must be put in place and all that. Would you say that he needs a team? Because one man cannot make a forest.
He needs a team, but I think that there are also a few landmines. first of all, I must give you that Chancellor, what's his name? George Weah's emergence, for me, I think is good omen. But I think that, you know, some concessions have been made in picking Chancellor's ex-wife as his running mate. Now, most of these people that lost in the first round, particularly Johnson, that I think eventually came to support him also, have one thing, direct thing or the other to do with the civil war. And you know that, you know, going forward, we don't also know what might have given in gaining this level of support that he has got. One, then number two is the fact that there was this Truth and Reconciliation Commission report that has been in the works, which Johnson Sirleaf was implementing piecemeal, but which has been implemented because there is need for redress. There is need for people to get satisfaction from what they lost during the war. It is important. Sort of. And these people that have come to support him now have one thing or the other to do with that war. So I don't know how far he's going to be able to go in providing social redress or social justice. That is one. Number two is the fact that informing his government, I think he's going to try. The man doesn't respond to criticism. He doesn't speak up so openly. So somehow I think he will need to be a bit more bold in asserting himself.
And he will still tell you he's not a politician, really.
Well, you see, but again, now he's going to face some. I mean, he said recently that he had gained experience, having been a green on in the political arena. So he's going to be able. He needs men that are going to help him in charting a clean cause. Here and there are going to be issues, but I think he needs to be able to put the interest of the people ahead of the interest of even the political class. But being a product of the system itself, these are the variables that he's going to have perhaps a little bit of a hard time marrying. But on the face of it, let us see how. I mean, there are one of the resources that Liberia has to sell, ore. The price of ore crashed recently. But I think that he's going to he needs people that are going to help him to build, to come up with policies. Because basically, going into the election, Charles Bromskin, Joseph Boakai, Johnson, where they were all saying the same things basically. Because the Liberian people want someone that will tell them that I'm going to fight corruption, I'm going to provide education. He alone is in his own capacity. Recently, he went to a particular school and paid $4,420, paid all the WAEC fees of all the students. What is government doing, really? So I think social progressivist policies, social intervention, or social policies that attempt to address issues of social inequality are key. But much as he's going to push this, how do you strengthen government institutions to now sit up and live up to their billing? Ellen Johnson Sirleaf has only so far has done as she can do. But I think that while out of power, has seen the need to be doing so much, now needs to come into government and make government sit up and do what it. I mean, 12 years after war is enough time for government to sit up and do what it should be doing. When we talk about government corruption, it means there are people who are taking the monies that should be doing the work George Weah himself had been doing in the past. So I think they need to sit back down together and say, okay, how do we now make government have a face for the people? I think that's where it should be taken.
Now, when it comes to the issue of corruption, it's apart from poverty, the other challenge Liberia has is the issue of corruption. Now, when Johnson Sirleaf came in, there were lots of expectation because when she won the election at that time, there was a lot of expectation. She had a lot of goodwill, but 12 years down the lane, if you ask an average Liberian, how satisfied are you with the presidency of Johnson Sirleaf? Not all of them are going to say, well, they're just going to be,
as son and what point
so from that window, George Weah is coming in with a lot of goodwill on the side of the people, and then the people are going to expect so much from him on the other hand. Now, you said something earlier, said you don't know what must have given. Now, having Charles Taylor's wife as the running mate is strategic. They could have been some give and take, bargaining and all of that behind the doors and so on.
Sharing of
whatever as the case may be. So, will Judge, if what we're seeing, what we're seeing really plays out from that window, is Judge Weah going to be the game changer? Is it going to be different?
Well, you see, while we sit here and talk about political philosophy and economic ideology, let's not forget something. George Weah's political headquarters or political secretariat, the building where he was doing, had been a restaurant, had been a virtual restaurant, you know, distributing free food. And it wasn't the only one. Many candidates did it. Every day there was free food. And the fear is that for the uneducated mass, for the people who are less privileged, for people who don't even understand their right from their left, even if George Weah spends the next 12 years giving free food, they will say, look, he has done everything that needs to be done.
For a country suffering.
Yeah, so when there is a distance between where people should be and where people are and where they ought to be, and they have not the slightest clue of the difference. You know, because when we talk corruption, we always look at it from what government is doing, but corruption tries because people don't even know the extent to which corruption. I mean, when the people are not armed with the right information, when there is the wrong orientation, they could care less. And as far as they have food in their stomachs and little jobs to do, they are okay.
But then it seems
for a population of 4.6 million, and we're estimating only that 2 million people are going to vote, and I think as at the first round, they counted 1.5 million. I mean, what does really come to? There are people in the rural areas. What they care about is that they go to farm, their produce comes. It is the younger people with whom George Weah is relating and whom he has actually assisted to fund their education. Now, if you look at what happened in Zimbabwe, they warned about Mugabe and said, look, you want to be a sit-tight leader, and yet literacy level is about 89%. You can't sustain that. So I think I will plead with George Weah. Even if he doesn't do so, let him invest in education. People need to come to the point of awareness. People need to come to a point of consciousness so that they can own the process of development and be the pushers of that development. But where we leave it to be a government versus the people don't know nothing.
And it seems that
it doesn't help.
It seems that George Weah needs to impress a whole lot of people, not just Liberians, because he's coming in as a footballer. His example really is not going to be just for the Liberians alone, but for other people across the world, that you can trust sportsmen, you can trust musicians, those venturing into politics, that they can actually offer something good.
Well, you see, it may look like trivia, but if his footballing career got to a point where he was world best player of the year, won the Ballon d'Or and so on, playing for high-profile clubs like AC Milan and Paris Saint-Germain, I am hoping that he will become the world's best president. 12 years is enough. I mean, look, it is relative, okay? Sure. And the indices you have in America, in Nigeria, in, let's say, Malaysia, are not the same things you have in Liberia. It is relative to Liberia. But I think
the dynamics
are different. Look, one thing he has going for him, people, if you look at the likes of Charles Taylor, look at the likes of William Tolbert, look at the likes of I think Samuel Sawyer also. These are people who had PhDs, who spoke very good English, who spoke Queen's English, we are articulate, we are good public speakers. But when it came to putting food on the table, when it came to providing basic amenities, they scored 0. Now, Weah, of course, with a master's degree, but he doesn't really, he comes more from the perspective of someone who had, like you said, played football, been in the entertainment world, and someone who uses wealth to connect with the common people. So I think that what he needs to do is to sit down, raise a strong agenda. For me, I will think that, you know, he needs to pursue issues of national unity, talking about issues with the Americo-Liberians and indigenous Liberians and so on. National unity, pursue, like I said, education, very fundamental. That is the only, that's like the bait and the hook that can drag the people from the waters of ignorance and underdevelopment to where they ought to be. So you need to invest in education massively, and then again, infrastructure. For lack of jobs, people take to crime and criminality. So when he raises this strong agenda, let him get a strong team. Scholars, religious leaders, people who are going to sit down and say, this is how best to get this thing going. Because, of course, at 51, he hasn't made a career of politics. He has made a career of football. He has not got all the experience there is to get. Unlike someone like an Obama, who even at 40-something, had gone through the ranks, okay? He has not quite gone through those ranks. It doesn't matter the fact that in Liberia's history, he has successfully run the biggest opposition party. It is fine, but of course we know this. So people out there who are also helping him. So he needs to get all the help that he can get, raise a strong agenda, raise a strong team, and give them some measure of liberty to run with the vision. And I think that when the vision is being drawn up, they need to get it in layers. Marketing and ideology is important. the way we sit down here to discuss it in a newsroom is not the same way you're going to take it to the marketplace. So he needs to get to the point where they can retail these ideas and I mean, okay, well,
and
I
properly crafted.
I think I got ahead of myself when I said 12 years for him. It should be 6 years in the first installment. Okay?
Yeah, exactly. And then 12 years, and if he recontests or wins,
if it so happens,
exactly.
So,
and that's for Liberians to
yes,
decide.
for Liberians to decide.
You're using the Nigerian system. Well, once you're in power, you know, 8 years is somehow set for you. 6 years should do him well in raising an agenda, in driving that agenda, and in, you know, in being able to transform ideas into practical issues. I mean, we need to move from a point of dependency. What does education do for us? It makes us independent. It makes us question things. It makes us dispute ideas. People need to
become logical.
Yes, and become logical. So the level of poverty and dependence is so high. I mean, like for almost a year, they were going from one campaign office to another. There was even a particular candidate who went to a family and paid and gave scholarship to children. I mean, so I think people need to be empowered to the point where they can stand for themselves. Look, when people stand for themselves, the country is standing.
Exactly.
Sure.
But with widespread poverty and a dependency syndrome,
that's where they always call on government to come and do this, government to come and do that. Every very minute things. They still call on government to come. Government must come to their aid, and then they also need international assistance to come to. I think Liberia, they are our oldest democratic republic, fine, but they've also had a very checkered history. Moving from Johnson Sirleaf to George Weah, coming in is a great fit. But they need to make it count. And George Weah needs to, he must make sure that, he must make sure that what he has been doing in the past 20, 30 years for the Liberian people was not just a vehicle for him to come to power. Now is the time for him to actually sit down and say, look. And practicalize.
Yes, it will even be fine if he sits back and says, if what I was doing before was just more like an NGO, I was just helping people, what are my limitations? How can we expand? Let him bring that program to become an agenda of government. How do we now expand the front? How do we reach more people? How do we set, do we need to set out a particular fund, you know, get donors to also come in and make pledges and see how we can raise education, make it a national agenda. So I think he's what he
has the name and face for that anyway.
Yes,
so
he already has the name and face.
On the world scale.
And a little bit of structure. But you can't compare what government can do to what a single individual can do,
Exactly.
no matter how big his pocket is. You need government structure, you need government institutions.
The backing.
Yes, the backing. Part of the reason why Liberians were worried, you know, I'm sorry to say this, apart from the fact that Joseph Boakai became known as Sleeping Joe because he was always dozing off at public functions, was the fact that as a person, he never really came across as the man for the people. Reason being that there were no schools to his name, there were no clinics to his, you know, like I said.
And they see him as someone that is even out of tune with reality.
There's a disconnect between him
the dynamics
and
are different. In Africa, before we talk about strong government or strong institutions, we like to look at strong men. So he didn't really, even in his own hometown,
He didn't come as a leader.
the house that has been, his house has been rented to an agency. He has no house. So people look at him and say, he does not have, who is he that we should put him there?
Exactly.
That,
his name doesn't resonate.
It doesn't resonate anything. So I think what Weah is bringing to the table is important, but it shouldn't be that he was just getting past or getting by with these things.
To get into the presidential palace.
Now that he's coming into that place, he needs to also make sure that fundamentally the nation doesn't disintegrate. The hard-won peace over the years is protected. And if that foundation is so fragile and he can't build so much on it, as far as he's maintaining the peace, let him build one thing, let him build education.
It's all right. Now, we saw that President Johnson Sirleaf did not really put her weight into this election for the vice president, which is also her party. What does that say when it comes to building and contributing to the sustenance of party ideologies and all of that?
Well, let me take the risk to say that I think as leaders, our loyalty should be to the state. Primarily.
Especially when you have become president.
Yes, yes, your loyalty should be to the state. And in a way, I understand people will disagree with my position. But I think that our loyalty should be to the state, should be to the success and prosperity of everyone. Now, I will not sit here and say that there was an unwritten agreement between some people saying let Salif go first and let Weah come second. Those are decisions that are taken not within a political party, but among political interests, which are beyond political parties.
Sometimes even outside the country.
Yes, but which are taken in the interest of the state. So the protection of the interest of the state is usually taken higher and greater than that of a political party or or any other
All right.
Unit of value that is less than the state itself. And I think that she really couldn't support him for wide and varied reasons. She really couldn't support him, but it was okay. At least she didn't support him, and she said Liberians need to get a younger person to lead them.
But then he was good enough to be her deputy. Thank you very much.
Being a deputy is just okay.
Thank you very much.
And in all of this, certainly countries like Nigeria has a role to play in the stability.
And a lot to learn from that country.
A lot to learn,
yes.
And a lot to contribute.
Thank you very much, Cyril Abako, for your analysis. You're a senior researcher here at TVC. Thank you, as always.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much, Cyril.
I'm glad to be back.
Yeah.